Hey, it's Ryan. If I woke up overweight tomorrow and had to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds or more on a plant-based diet, this is exactly what my full day of eating would look like. I'm going to walk you through every gram of food consumed today so you can get some ideas and inspiration about how to manage your weight loss on this incredible plant-based lifestyle. Of course, we're starting at, 8:30 a.m. now with this interesting looking little brekkie option. What have we got working here then? We've got two slices, first of all, approximately 40 grams each of rye sourdough bread with minimal ingredients. I'm really lucky to have a nice store near me that does a really clean, quote unquote, bread option. Then below, you'll just about make out, this is 1/2 medium avocado that I simply mash up a little bit with a fork. Needs to be ripe, key tip there, needs to be ripe, mash it up with a fork, a little bit of sea salt, a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of black pepper. And then on top, if you can't quite make this out, you might not be able to, I've got 120 grams, which is about half a can drained of chickpeas, canned chickpeas, of course. And chili flakes go really nicely with this. As it so happens, I'm all out, so I just mash them up with a fork. Tiny bit of mustard. You don't even need it really, but it can be slightly dry without and not mix quite so well. So I do a tiny little bit of Dijon, the old Dijon mustard, which I'm obsessed with, if you can't tell from my videos. And then a little bit of black pepper over the top. And this, for me, believe it or not, it feels decadent, doesn't it? We've got bread, we've got avocado, and we've got one of the more calorie dense of the bean family. Feels like, oh, this is a bit risky from a weight loss perspective. What I will say, actually, what I would agree on is this is quite a low volume meal by my standards. And I think one of the great drivers of weight loss success is eating low calorie density, subsequently high volume foods, because it really lets you get that perceived satisfaction of, wow, I've got this really generous portion. This doesn't really check that box, but why I wanted to include it today, number one, this is a meal I eat anyway, so it's authentic and transparent. But number two, you can get a feeling for how I eat these kind of higher risk, more calorie dense, even quite whole foods, but these are still higher calorie density foods. I still build them into my diet and they're still calorie controlled and they fit in a weight loss plan quite nicely. So I thought that would be quite cool to show. So yeah, the other great thing about this meal is it fills me up for hours because it is a little bit more fat rich. Subsequently, I won't have as much fat later. I won't have as much calorie wiggle room later, but you're going to see exactly how I plan my lunch, dinner, and snacks today to stay really full, really satisfied. Look at that, by the way. I'm in heaven, folks. The strawbs are back in. I think, if memory serves, these are my first strawberries of the year. This is one of my favorite weight loss snacks ever, and just love them in the summer months, and they're no good any other time of year. But I love this, and I am a snacker when it comes to losing weight. My weight loss plan today, this is going to be one of several snacks that you're going to see, you better believe it. But my rule with snacking is it's still measured, it's still controlled, we factor in the calories, and we avoid those really easy to overeat snacks like nuts and seeds and dried fruit. I love medjool dates, but the dried fruit, wow, the calorie density. And like Lara bars, things like the dried fruit and nut bars, protein bars, things like this that just, they're so easy to overeat. They're so moreish and they're so high in calorie density. What I love about fresh fruit, but in particular strawberries, given that they're usually over about 90% water content, is that for 500 grams, this whole punnet, I don't know if you've got scale for this, but it's 500 grams worth, it's huge, 160, give or take, approx calories. 160 calories for all of this volume. The perception of fullness here is astonishing because you get this big old portion. Yes, strawberries are not going to fill you up for ages because they're so high in water content, but for the mindset, like, oh, I'm in this calorie deficit thing, I'm doing this weight loss thing, dieting is so hard, this just breaks all the norms, the conventions in your mind, and it makes weight loss feel comparatively so much easier when you can eat big volumes like this, when you properly plan out your snacks. So this is going to be one of several snacks today. Let's do the taste test though. The proof is in the pudding. These are on special offer as well, which is not always a good sign. I'm going back. I'll take your lot, sir. Update, I've actually only eaten about half the strawberries here because lunch is almost there and I just kind of got lost in emails. And I wanted to share that actually because just the permission to, like, you don't need to finish your plate. I know people have a lot of like food scarcity, or they were brought up saying, finish your plate, finish your plate. You don't. All I'm going to do, I'm probably still going to eat these strawberries today, but if I'm like capped at satisfaction right now, I know a really hearty, nourishing meal is on the way any second. I'm not just going to continue force feeding when actually I might
risk meeting a hunger weak point later on, and then have the remaining 300 or so grams of the strawberries. Perfect. That's a great time to do that. So yeah, if you ever do feel full and you know it's not a huge amount of time to the next meal, just because something is on your meal plan, quote unquote, just because you can eat it, doesn't mean you necessarily should.
All right, lunch is served, and it's another one of my Slim and Sustain big bowls today. Here's what's in this one. 250 grams dry weight sweet potato as our carbohydrate base. For our protein sources, we've got a mix of 150 grams of extra firm tofu, 120 grams, which is about half a can of black beans, 10 cherry tomatoes halved there. Then I've got about 10, again, that's just by chance, 10 broccoli florets there that I bake with actually the tofu at the same time, the zucchini. You might be looking at this meal and thinking, oh, it looks so elaborate, so complex. I just cook it all and bake it all together, and I make enough for days and days worth. That's how I kind of put together these elaborate looking things, but I actually don't spend that much time cooking. It's a godsend. And yeah, half a medium zucchini, I don't know if I mentioned. And then to bring it all together, because it's a little bit dry, admittedly, I've got a couple of tablespoons of a low-calorie store-bought salsa that I found here that I just throw on. So it's actually not as complicated as it looks, but the best part is calorie controlled. This is less than 600 calories. The volume is tremendous. All the fiber content here to keep me full for hours and hours. Lunch is an important meal for me because I often have quite a big gap between lunch and dinner. So for me, this meal being really, really filling is absolutely crucial. So the high fiber content, the volume, relatively balanced macronutrients. It's not perfect. If I was to pick at this, I'd say it's quite a low fat meal. There's a bit more than trace fat in tofu, admittedly, but it's quite a low fat meal. But if you recall, I had that quite high fat breakfast this morning and calorie dense breakfast this morning. So for me, this hits the spot. This checks every single box, and it leaves us now, how are we doing number-wise? We're on 1,300 calories. So before this meal, we're on just shy of 700, but I hadn't eaten all the strawberries yet. So 1,300 calories now, 60 grams of protein already achieved today. And so at 2 p.m., we're shaping up really, really nicely to have such a great weight loss day of eating. For me, that gives me, with a calorie target for fat loss of about 2,300. Please don't copy and paste, by the way, you need to figure out your own. But for me, on an active day, 2,300 calories is a really, really decent calorie deficit. And so to have about 1,000 calories left to play with for the rest of the today, that's a win in my book. And we're just doing the remainder of these lovely strawberries now. Dinner is on the cards pretty soon-ish. Right, dinner's gonna be insanely straightforward. That's why I'm actually excited to show you this, even though it's really, really basic. If you are looking for an easy meal that still packs a punch in terms of flavor, you're going to enjoy this one. This is very straightforward. We're going to do one of my mince bowls, one of my mince pots. If you don't know already, I'm a massive fan of like one pot, 1 pan meals because you just throw everything together in the pan and then you can just chill out, spend time with loved ones, watch a bit of TV, answer those final couple of emails of the day, whilst the food does its thing and all those flavors come together so nicely. So today we're doing, this is not TVP, although you'd be forgiven for thinking it is. This is essentially rehydrated pea protein. So similar thing, but I like to mix it up and have different protein sources so I'm not having soy all the time, not because I'm fearful of soy, just for nutrient diversity. So this is a pretty nice, I really like this one actually. This is pea protein. So I've got that now. Let's see if you can check it out. I've got that now. It's been soaking up for about an hour whilst I went out for a bit of walking, and then, well, you'll see what accompanies it shortly, but I just wanted to show you how ridiculously straightforward this meal that I often do is. This is just a template, like you don't need to do exactly this thing, but once you get the formula down, like you can imagine how versatile this is. All I'm gonna do is add in my remaining half a can left over from yesterday. Again, we batch cook everything, loads of crossover ingredients, so I don't have this huge extensive grocery list. That was the point I made earlier. And this just is going here, it's getting dumped in the pan. This is a great way to add flavor, and like half a can of chopped tomatoes is usually, this one is about 60 calories. So again, really low calorie to add some serious flavor then. And then here's the secret ingredient. I use half of a vegetable bouillon type stock cube. Now these things are crammed in oil, but you look at this, this is a drop in the ocean of my overall meal volume, so I really don't worry. I'm not that extreme, I really don't worry about it that much. Yes, they're really high in sodium as well, but it's such a small amount. And I just, come on camera, I just drop them in there. And that's it. I'm going to do a bit of garlic powder, probably a little bit of oregano, as I always do. Then all I'm going to do is just throw in all my veg. I won't explain that now. You'll see when it's done. But just let it all come together. It's so simple. Finished article then. Not too shabby for a big old bowl of slop. Is it? Not too bad at all. So I use 75 grams of the pea protein chunks. That's really excessive for a lot of you. That's 40 something grams of protein by itself, not to mention the rest of the meal, but just being transparent. I like this meal to be I like dinner to be the largest. I do this very tactically, the largest in my day to stave off those nighttime munchies. So that's why 70 grams, of dry weight. Bulgur wheat was the grain you saw there. I've also got on the side of this 120 grams of green beans, and I just do those frozen. So again, really, really straightforward meal. And then of course, in my big old bowl of slop, what did we add here? You won't make it all out, but half a red bell pepper, 100 grams or so of mushrooms, and what else? A couple of handfuls of the old spinach, because I haven't had, I don't think, dark leafy greens yet today. So yeah, really good final meal, around 700 or so calories. Stick with me because there's one more thing on the way later. We'll see then where the data is at, the calories, the protein, the carbs, fat, etc., etc. I'll break it all down in just a sec.
Two things I forgot to say as well, aside from this being astonishing, which is the first thing to report. It really has turned out well. Number one, I also added 10 grams of hemp seeds here as my healthy fat source. And number two, big tip on this, the longer that you cook this, the better it is. Let all of those flavors soak, work into one another. You know, when I've done this kind of dish, or a chili, or a marinara, curry in a similar vein, ratatouille, when I leave it for like 90 minutes, 2 hours, as long as humanly possible, it just tastes absolutely unreal. If you do this in a rush, it's never quite as good, so I'll just warn you about that.
And we hit just over 10,500 steps today, which is pretty good going, and finishing the evening now with nature's dessert. A little bit of fruit to finish the night. Wonderful. Couple of kiwis here. Yeah, I'm one of those guys, skin on, one of those psychopaths, one of those weirdos. So I've got 3 small kiwis here, and I'm going to count that because they're quite small. I'm going to count that as, I'm going to guesstimate 150 calories without weighing them. So grand totals there. Wow, 2,160 calories, which is actually a really steep deficit for me today. Remember, I did that back workout this morning. Decent, not a crazy step count by my standards, but a decent step count. So that's actually a pretty steep deficit. 2,300 for me is a really good sweet spot where I start dropping body fat at a really nice rate. So yeah, to be almost 150 calories below that, that's quite harsh, that's quite aggressive, but the reason I'm not panicked about it, I'm not trying to overcompensate now, go and grab some chocolate because, oh, I've got wiggle room. I'm not going to mess with that. But I feel full. I feel really full, happy and satisfied. And that's before I've even eaten these kiwis. I feel really, really good right now. So for me, that's why I'm not going to push it. Enough is enough. And you know, there's days where I go over. I think my last day of eating video, I went 2350. And again, that's still a calorie deficit for me. So as long as I'm in the ballpark, for me, that is absolutely good enough. I don't sweat if I'm a little bit more, a little bit over, a little bit less. So yeah, really good day of eating, 125 grams of protein today. Carbohydrates, 340 grams. Fat, a little bit low. I probably should have done more hemp seeds in hindsight. Now I've added it all up. But again, I don't sweat this stuff. Fat, what am I saying though, 45 grams. So that's a little bit low for me. I usually like to be much nearer 60 grams, but I think that's partly by virtue of like being in such a steep calorie deficit today. When I'm nearer 2,300, I kind of naturally am picking up a couple of grams trace fat here and there. So I'm much nearer 60 grams. So that's a little bit low if I'm kind of picking at things. But generally speaking, yeah, delighted with that. Successful day of eating. And this is exactly how I'd eat if I woke up tomorrow and had to lose 20, 30, 40 or more pounds on a plant-based diet without starving myself, feeling like I was suffering, like it was some big uphill battle the whole time. And to be honest, it just relies on the principles that I've been barking on about for about 7, 8 years now on this channel. We eat the same 5 to 6 core meals on repeat every single week to keep things straightforward. You'll have noticed this as well. Huge crossover of ingredients between meals, so I can do lots of easy meal prep, lots of batch cooking, so I don't need to spend hours in the kitchen to assemble meals. We do carbs, fat, fruit, Goodness forbid we get adequate protein. We don't try and cut out a whole macronutrient demonizer food group. It's really balanced, non-restrictive. We do the measured portions. This is so important. So it's not just hit and hope. It's not just guesswork. It's not just, oh, I'll eat whole foods and hope for the best. No, we eat measured portions. So we have the peace of mind, the confidence to know that what we're eating every single day is going to produce results on the scale. 100% certainty with that. We do the low calorie volume foods to bulk up those meals, as you've seen in every meal today, to stay really full, happy and satisfied while still maintaining that calorie deficit. It literally feels like you're cheating because you get these really generous portions. And of course, as I just mentioned, the daily walking. This is so crucial to burn the calories, offset some of that food consumed without skyrocketing your appetite, like the really intense fitness classes, Orange Theory, CrossFit training, all of that do. The strength training is just an added option that I do 3 to 4 times per week max, but really for me, walking is the fitness foundation. And yeah, this is the approach that has absolutely changed my life. And if your current approach isn't working, by the way, this is incredible. We've been so lucky with the fruit today, so sweet. Amazing, really does feel like a dessert. But yeah, if your current approach isn't working, the ironic thing is, you're probably not actually that far off. I speak to people constantly online here who are about 250, 300, maybe 400 calories away from having a massive breakthrough on the scale and actually starting to see some incredible results. Just literally a couple of small diet tweaks, bit more awareness about portions and calories, and then bang, they have this massive breakthrough and start consistently dropping 4 to 8 pounds every single month. So you're probably not actually as far away as you think from weight loss success right now. It's just, and this is the problem, it's just if it's left unchecked, if you don't actually fix it, if you don't do anything about it, you literally spend, take it from me, personal experience, you literally spend months making no progress. And this is doubly frustrating because you're actually eating healthily. You're eating a whole foods plant-based diet. Hey, I'm following all the guidelines, Ryan. What's going on here? I heard this was amazing for weight loss. I'm not even dropping. Like, it's even more frustrating when you're actually spinning your wheels. But sadly, this is the harsh reality check. This doesn't fix itself. If you want my help to figure out exactly what's going wrong, build you a new plan that actually corrects it and will actually work, my coaching program has spots available. If you're interested, I'll put the link to learn more down below. But hopefully for now, this video gave you plenty of meal ideas and inspiration, but you've got to get yourself in the calorie deficit if you want to start getting results. This is exactly how I do it and how I'd lose 20, 30, 40 or more pounds if I was starting from scratch with weight loss. Hope this helps. See you in the next one.